Greetings, Crocoduck Army! Apparently it's abuse season in the NFL, and the only sport I enjoy has been in for a lot of criticism. One of the biggest stars in the sport, Adrian Peterson, is now charged with child abuse after the mother of his 4-year-old son got the child back from Peterson with welts, bruises, and bleeding cuts on several parts of his body. The beatings were apparently administered with a belt and a tree branch. As usual with these types of incidents, the reactions of others are an interesting window into the mindset of someone who is okay with inflicting that kind of damage on their children. Why do so many of these people think that treating kids that way is acceptable? Many of them will tell you it's because Jesus told them so. When the story first came out, Peterson took to Twitter with a quote from a book called Jesus Calling. It read, "Come to me and rest. Give your mind a break from its habitual judging." I guess he means that we shouldn't judge him for what he allegedly did, and that since we're not him, that we should just let him decide how much he should be able to beat his kids. This wasn't even the first brush with child abuse that he had. There was a case last year that didn't go to court with another son of his, who was also 4 years old at the time. In that case, he hit him so hard that he left a large open cut on his head that took 2 bandages to cover. The mothers of both kids allegedly have many text messages in which Peterson admits to what he did. I'll include a link in the info bar and you can read them for yourself. Peterson said in another statement that he would have been lost to the streets if not for the discipline instilled in him by his parents, and that he didn't mean to cause any injury. Then he went on to claim that he was definitely not a child abuser. I think what Adrian doesn't understand is that you don't have to hate your children in order to be a child abuser. Abuse is an action. Upbringing is certainly a model for what is acceptable and will greatly influence what you in turn find acceptable. These standards are societal and will differ between countries and families and over time. But it should have been Adrian Peterson's first clue that his discipline was excessive and beyond what is legally allowed when he narrowly evaded legal trouble the first time. I understand that our interpretation of these issues go right to the very core of who we are. My video last week resulted in the most vicious civil war between various factions of the Crocoduck Army that I can recall in the over 200 videos I've made in the past 5 years. I hate for that to happen since I like to create an environment where we can really discuss these issues without it being personal, but it's a complex issue and some controversy is to be expected. The best we can do is to be clear about what we believe and why, and that certainly includes me. So in the interest of clarity, assuming that Adrian Peterson did what is alleged, I believe it's clear that he vastly overstepped his rights in the manner he disciplined his children. Leaving bruises, cuts, and welts on a 4-year-old, or really any child in the name of discipline, is abuse in my mind, and not even allowable for pets in most states. I'll stop short of proclaiming that any sort of corporal punishment should be categorically outlawed, but I could never do it myself, and I do think it would be a good idea to at least re-examine the laws in many states where more severe corporal punishment is permitted, to see if an update is in order to better reflect society as it is today. A lot of the Adrian Peterson apologist commenters talked about how they would get beaten with things when they were kids, some with the scars to show for it, and they turned out just fine, they claim. Besides, the Bible says in this chapter and verse that you have to keep your kids in line. God said it, I believe it, and that settles it. After all, how else are you going to get kids to behave these days if they don't fear you? I think there are a lot of significant problems with that reasoning, but I'll give you the first shot at it in the comments. What do you think is the best way to counter those arguments?